All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back. I'm Matt Rosenthal, and this is Digging In. I do this show weekly because I want to inspire and I want to motivate you. I want to help you reach your potential. If there's anything that I can do to give back, that's what it's all about, and that's what this show is about. And today I have on a pretty interesting, pretty fun guy, multi-talented. He's a singer. He is a really creative guy. Does improv. He's going to talk about improv. He teaches improv. He's an actor. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is he's an expert on being uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is in front of people or on camera, right? So what he's going to do today is we are going to talk about being in front of people, being on camera, and how you overcome the fear and how your mind plays those tricks on you. So, Anthony, welcome. It's going to be a great conversation.
Matt, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. You have a beautiful setup here. This is really nice. Thank you. I,
I
I
love
love
it. I love
you.
it.
You saying that I'm good at being uncomfortable is so
You're an
interesting.
expert at being uncomfortable.
Expert at being uncomfortable. I've never heard that before, and I really like that because I was very nervous as a kid and very nervous to get into performing, and so that's interesting. Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah, I thought you'd get a kick out of that. So listen, let's talk a little bit about who you are, how you think, and before we really jump into, I want to just take a step back. I know you have tips, right? And we talked before the show. You're gonna give five powerful tips. Like they're really important, and I know that you've bounced them off of me in the past, and I've just been blown away. Like at times I got to get in front of this camera and turn this microphone on, and you can be nervous, you can get scared, getting in front of people. We've all experienced that. And when you told me or talked to me about the mindset, the things you can think, and the approach you can take, I was really blown away. Right. So that's what we're going to do today. You're going to give five really powerful tips, and anybody who's watching, stay tuned. Watch this entire episode. Don't skip through. He's gonna weave it in throughout the episode, but it's gonna be really awesome. So, um, with that second intro that I just did, tell me a little bit about who you are, and like how you think. Like, who's Anthony?
Wow, I'd love to know. I'd love to know that. No, so I've always been a little weird. I've always been a performer, a class clown. I always like making people laugh. I am a disruption, and I've learned to harness that power for good. But I've always been attracted to performance. Even when I was younger, even though it was very difficult for me as a kid, I was a solo boy soprano growing up here in Boca Raton, and I sang at the St. Joan of Arc Church and grew up Catholic. And so I did a lot of music and first found music that way. And and music is really how I got started. Singing is how I got started in front of audiences like that. Uh, but I didn't think that there was a place for me. And then I found improv, and improv was really a place that I could be myself. And I found other people like me, which was really helpful because I felt very isolated, because I felt like people didn't get me, and I didn't know if there was something wrong with me. When I was a kid, I was diagnosed with ADD, which now I guess is ADHD. So and I have that as an adult, and I work with that. But that all kind of helps me. I kind of figured out what tools I have and how to use the tools I have, and here I am.
I didn't know that about you. I mean, I've gotten to know you a little bit, and so I just learned something new about you. Because knowing you, I don't, I haven't experienced that, that ADD or ADHD.
What? Huh?
Um,
No,
yeah. Oh,
no.
there it is. There it is.
Yeah, it's something that is a part of me, and that I don't. It doesn't come up. I just deal with it. I know
Yeah.
what I can and can't do. I know where my strengths and my weaknesses are, and I just lean into the strengths and do my best to avoid the weaknesses. Or I'm organized not by habit or not by personal choice, but I'm organized because I have to be organized. So
Right.
organization is a tool for me that I've learned over my life through training and coaches. This is the best way for me to operate. Things that come naturally for other people doesn't come naturally for me. I have to really be more organized, and so I come off as being really organized. But when left to my own devices, I will forget what day it is.
So a
And
lot of work goes into that, and a lot of thought. That's really interesting. That's a really interesting insight, because there's so many people that have to adapt in that way, and we see the outside. We don't see what you deal with on the inside to give us all the appearance that we see when we're around you, or anybody who's got something like that that they have to work through. So that's interesting. You've adapted and found ways that work for you, which is, I guess, it's Darwinian. I mean, you kind of have to.
Yeah, and it's a blessing and a curse. But by no means is ADD or ADHD a superpower or a gift. It is a disability, and it does have certain elements to it that are good. People with ADHD tend to be extremely intelligent. I have a very high IQ, but it comes at a price. And for example, currently I'm learning Spanish. I'm I learned how to solve the Rubik's Cube. I have all these things I try to keep my mind busy with. And so, on the one hand, that's good. I have all these projects that I like to do, but a lot of times those projects might end up unfinished. I want to learn music, so I have a keyboard I haven't really touched in a little while, but I dig in and I drill down, and so the tool that I have to follow for that is I have to be organized, and while I might not necessarily have the motivation anymore to do this thing, to try and stick with it and push forward is a fun challenge.
So scheduling is big. Lists
Oh
are
yeah,
big.
scheduling,
Like
absolutely
really,
scheduling.
really being organized. And you know what? That's important for anybody. I mean,
Yeah,
in general, that's a
yeah,
great, great point. But bring it back. There was something we were talking about earlier, which I thought was really, really cool when when you were telling me about who you are. And I said, whoa, 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 stop. Hold on. Let's talk about it on camera because that's so valuable. And if I'd like to hear that, but talk about that, who you are from in that perspective.
sure. So a big philosophy that I have, that I try to lead my life by and run my business by is lead with love, and I have it tattooed on my arm. And what it means for me is the story is actually kind of interesting. So I was on a guided meditation, and a good friend of mine, improviser from New York, Rance Rizzuto, he did a guided meditation. And in the guided meditation, if you've never done them, it was
I do it
some
every
visual.
day.
Oh, okay. So the
Every morning.
visualization, I don't. So I don't know what I'm saying right now. I
Okay.
did one.
Oh,
So
okay.
he said, you visualize you walking through the woods. You jump over a log. Like there's a log in the way. You jump over it. He talked about climbing up like a hill and then getting to the top of this hill. And there's like a building or a hut or something. For me, it was like a hut. And he said, you go in through this hut and there's your spirit guide or something. And at the time, I wasn't sure. I was at a crossroads. I wanted to start my own theater. I really wanted to have my own space to do improv shows and things like that. And he's like, ask your spirit guide, what what you want, or what your issue is. And I asked my spirit guide, should I do this? Should I pursue this? And she said, lead with love. And so that was weird because it didn't feel like it came from me. It felt like it came from something outside of me. And that's always been a thing. So I had that on the wall at the theater. When you come in the theater, that was painted big on the wall.
Wait. Slow down. Hold on.
Sure.
Are you saying that when you were doing that, it was something you heard that what you were listening to, or is that a voice that came from inside you?
A voice that came inside me.
All right,
Came
that's
from inside me.
serious. That's heavy.
Yeah.
It wasn't clear. So that is what came to you, and that did you hear it somewhere? I mean, is it
I mean, like, I'm of the belief that I must have heard it from somewhere. And I'm of the belief that, this is part of me. But I also believe that it's, sometimes our minds can't tell us what we need to hear because we can't approach it from that
right?
standpoint. We have to use our imaginations to kind of unlock some of those secret messages and wants and desires and the truth that we have inside us that we're afraid to even say to ourselves. And that's what I think meditation did for me, was it kind of showed me a truth that I had that I may have been too afraid in that moment to realize and say to myself, but the meditation helped me get there.
The
I guess.
meditation when you're 100% did because when you're doing it, whether it's guided or it's something where there's no sound at all, you do. So the thing is, we all have all this noise going on in our minds all the time. There's always the voice that's talking to us. Some people have a voice that's saying things that you shouldn't hear. Sometimes the voice is saying good things, but we always have this dialogue that we have with ourselves.
Yeah.
And it can be real noisy. And the more that's going on, and the more anxiety and stress and worry and fear that's going on, the more that thing plays tricks on you. So meditation quiets that voice. When you're good at it and you can do it, it quiets the voice, and the things that come to you in that quiet time, or at least I could speak for myself, are very creative thoughts, and they're much deeper feelings, and you can feel love, and you can feel your heart, even when, I don't mean physically, I mean you can feel the energy when you're meditating, and you can think about that heart energy when you're meditating, and things like that will come into your mind. That's what's supposed to happen. So I don't think
Yeah.
you heard it anywhere. Maybe if you did, it's fine, you stored it, and it would only come up at the right time. It would only come up when your mind is quiet enough to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what it was. And that was really helpful. And you kind of reminded me of another thing I kind of say to myself, with that voice, as an actor and a performer, there's a lot of constantly checking in with myself. How's my performance? How am I doing? Is the audience happy? Am I pleasing the audience? Am I pleasing my viewers? And sometimes there's a lot of negative thoughts that I might have for myself, out of fear. One thing I always say, like you said, if no one's saying it, why am I hearing it? Like, it's a voice that's in my own head. It's not
Right.
something anyone has said to me. No one tells me I'm not good at this. Like, no one has said that to me, but I say it to me sometimes. Why? No one's saying it. Why am I letting that ring in my head? I
You're
think we
hitting on
all.
something
Yeah.
really, really important, because that comes from the one of the most common things that people feel is, I'm not good enough. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that you grew up in a traumatic environment or a bad home. It could just be a teacher said something to you in school, or a coach, or something that maybe didn't seem like a big deal, but at the time, the meaning that we attach to those negative, or the negative feedback, it sticks with people for a long time, for life. And um, you may never remember what that one event was, or you may, who knows? Some people, it's so pronounced that they'll never forget the moment,
Yeah.
and their whole life has been guided, but also guarded and restricted by that moment. But I'm not good enough. Every time I do one of these shows, after the show, I just say, now I work with you a lot, or the marketing company. I'll call her up and I'll say, oh my God, this show is terrible. I did a terrible job. And then you guys will watch it, and the feedback will be like, this was unbelievable. So that's my own inner voice saying, you know what, you're not doing a good enough job. Maybe you're not good enough. But I'm just like everybody else. Everybody thinks that, whether you want to admit it or not. It's just a matter of whether it controls your life and impacts you or not.
There
So
are.
I push through
Yeah.
it. I know it's not true. I push through, and I'm like, all right, I'm being hard on myself.
Well, there's people out there that do it, are doing it way worse than you're doing it, and they're thriving.
Oh, so I'm doing it bad. All right.
No,
You know
no,
what?
no.
This show's over. We're done.
God, you are not. No. The What you're saying is so true. Like, we all have that, and part of that is we know what we want. I'm quoting someone else. I forget the gentleman from NPR, but this whole idea that we know what good is, but we're having trouble attaining exactly. We have good taste, but maybe we don't have the. I'm not saying this about your show, but I'm saying, like, anytime you do something kind of new, or you're new at something, you know what good is, but you're not getting there yourself, and so you're like
Yeah.
frustrated because you're like, I want to be this level. I know what I can do there, but I've got so much to do on my end. No one else sees that the way you see it. They look at
Yeah.
you and they go, "That was good. I enjoyed that. That was great," and it's
It
completely
really is
different.
true. And the funny thing is, on the outside, most people are like, I would never even do that. Everybody I know is like, how do you do the show?
Yeah,
I'm like, so this actually leads us into the next topic.
sure.
When I first started doing this, which was like 3 years ago, it was an idea. And what kept me from doing it until 6 months ago was my own fear of getting in front of a camera. And, it's all being judged, and am I going to screw up? And it's like all the stuff that goes through, at least was going through my mind. And I think it's common, like public speaking. Most people I think the number one fear, it always will be for people. I hate it, but I do it, So what is it, right? That, you have the I'm not good enough. You have all these things that go on in your mind that are like embedded in you, like, and stored in that programming, that they play the tricks on you. So let's talk about how that fear, and how that public speaking, and how you as an actor and you doing improv, like, how do you do it? I mean, how do you do that where you just don't have that going on?
I do. So in the beginning, everyone does. In the beginning, you're new to it. Improvisation, getting up in front of a group of people and not knowing what to say, is learning how and then finding what to say is a craft. It is a learnable craft. So
Tell us what improv is real quick. I'm sorry to
sure,
interrupt you.
sure. No, I know a lot of people might hear improv and they might think this is stand-up comedy. The reason
Exactly.
improv and stand-up comedy are synonymous is because of the Improv, which was a stand-up comedy club in New York
Right.
that gained fame and now is commercially all over the country or in a lot of places. I do improvisational theater, where I make up dialogue. Think about it like Saturday Night Live, only it's all completely improvised. This is an art form that dates all the way back to, I want to say, the 1400s, Commedia dell'arte. The Italians actually invented it. I don't know if that's true, but Commedia dell'arte started where they had trope characters, the villain, the protagonist, the bad guy, whatever, the love interest, and then they would just improvise based on those characters and those base characters they created. Improvisation is an American art form. Really, modern improvisation was developed by performers in Chicago. It's the birthplace of improvisation, and that's what I do. So I'll get up in front of an audience and I will do a monologue. I'll play multiple characters. I'll do a solo show where I'll play all the characters. They'll interact with each other, move around the stage together. And I also do musical improv where I have a music director and they'll play music, and then I'll make up a song on the spot based on the music that I hear.
All right, so we're gonna sing the rest of the interview. Is
That's
that's what you
right. We're gonna sing. No, I won't. I won't subject people to that. But
So
it's fun.
so doing that, you're just making it up on the spot, right? So
Right.
talk about the the powerful tips that you're going to give us in a few minutes. You're doing something even more difficult than getting on a stage and maybe reading a PowerPoint presentation or having studied some notes for a presentation for whatever a show or something. If you're going to act in a show, this is coming out of your mind fresh. You have to be creative, and you got to do it quick.
Right.
So that's what makes you, to me, such an expert on being able to tell us what you're about to tell us. People like me and anybody else oh my God, I got to get in front of the camera. Oh my God, I got to give a presentation, or whatever it may be. I think everybody's going to benefit from this. So take me through slowly, because there's a lot to unpack here. Like,
Sure.
give me this first tip.
Sure.
Somebody wants to get in front of a camera, somebody wants to start a podcast, or somebody wants to go on stage and do something for the first time, but they're scared shit.
So I'm going to add a bonus tip if I can at the top. So
Do
this
it.
is
Do
going to
it.
go in because the most important thing I think everyone should understand, no matter what you're doing, when you get up in front of other people, whether one person, multiple people, it doesn't matter. When you're getting up in front of other human beings, there's one thing you need to know, and that is you are enough just the way you are. You are enough just the way you are. It's very important people understand that. We do not believe that when we get up in front of a group of people that we are doing enough just by being this. But this is enough because this is special. First of all, there's no one else like you in the world. No one else looks like you or sounds like you or has your point of view. No one else has lived your life. Even a twin doesn't have the same life as the other twin. So we are unique, and that is what makes us special, and that's what makes us interesting to watch. Every individual, every person is interesting to watch, even when they're not doing anything, even when they're just sitting there. We people watch all the time. So that's the first tip, is to know that you're enough just the way that you are.
All right, so let's talk about that for a sec. So what I think I'm hearing partially is it's no, it's about judgment partially, right? So knowing that you're enough is also knowing that it doesn't matter what people are going to think about this.
Well, you don't have to do anything. You're already doing it. If
But
I'm
the
sitting
fear
here,
comes from what you just said, right? The fear comes from the thought, the worry that plays in your mind that is leading you to give the advice. Well, if you think of it this way, then you'll feel better.
right, right. I want you to change your mindset a little bit because there's things you don't know as you're going from an audience member to a performer now, right? There's things you need to know as a performer that you don't know as an audience member.
It's
And
interesting.
there are, yeah,
It's
so it's
perspective.
Yeah, you once you step out, because and I have to tell that a lot of times to my students. I have to say, you're not in the audience anymore. You're a performer now. You have to think differently. You know, you got to be bold. You got to be loud. You got to get out. You got to bring more energy than you're used to bringing, because you're no longer watching. You're participating.
That's right. But isn't that inherently what creates the pressure for some people to feel like, oh, now I got to be perfect,
Well,
which creates a fear.
perfection is right the enemy of good. Well, you don't have to be
Right.
perfect. You're not going to be perfect. You're
Right.
going to make mistakes, and if I go back and watch my improvised work as opposed to scripted work, obviously scripted work is a lot cleaner. But that doesn't mean that the improvised work isn't good. It's the fact that we're improvising that is that's the art form. You know,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
process. Improv is a process, not a product. The biggest problem a lot of times with people getting up to speak is they're trying to present a polished, finished product, and you're not polished and you're not finished unless you polished it and you rehearsed it. But if you're getting up to give a speech at someone's wedding and you have to get up and you have to fill time, or your notes fly off the stand and you got to improvise, the important thing is that you're just being honest and truthful.
Okay.
You know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's really helpful. All right. Number two?
So number two is know that the audience is rooting for you. The audience wants you to win. The audience wants you to be successful at what you're doing. They're not trying to make it harder for you. They want you to be great. So know that the audience is rooting for you on the inside. They never want to see it go wrong. And the other thing too is the audience is looking at you to know if it is correct to be listening to you, to know that if this is the right thing, if they're in the right place. Okay, what that means is when I get up on stage, if I get up on stage and I go, "Good evening, hi," so the audience is like, "Should we be here? Should we be here right now?" But if I
Right.
come up and I go, as nervous as I might be, if I come on and I go, "Hey everyone, how are you? It's great to meet you. Let's get started." All of a sudden you go, "Oh, am I supposed to be here?"
feels
Yes,
good.
I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be here, right?
Yeah, that feels good.
And the audience wants you to feel comfortable. They want you to share that energy and share your positivity with them. They're waiting for that. So don't deny them the happiness. Don't deny them the smile. Don't deny them the positive energy. They're there for that, and they want that. So give it to them.
And you hear about people talking. Like I've never been on a big stage in front of people, so I don't know what that feels like. I've done tiny things. You give presentations to people, and I certainly know in those small environments, that you can feel the energy in the room, and you have an impact on the energy in the room, and you can lift people up, you can bring them down, you can make them uncomfortable, you can make them happy. I'm just thinking about, so what's the biggest crowd you've been in front of? And I'm only asking that question because I'm curious I'm curious how you felt. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, I can tell you. 4,000, I think, was I did a concert at Universal or at Disney when I was younger, which was about 4,000 people. No, and then I was an MC. I was an MC for Comic-Con, SuperCon, which is a comic convention down here. And I would say there was about 4,000 people there in the whole hall. But I would say, yeah, I emceed for about 4,000 people there. But the very first time I looked up at an audience, a big audience, it was 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And I was an altar boy.
Yeah.
And I remember I was putting the wine on the altar, and I looked up at the audience, which I hadn't really done yet.
Like who?
I'd always kind of kept my eyes down. I looked up at the audience.
Hold on, I'll be right back. We gotta leave that in. That's almost kind of fun.
Oh, great. Oh, yeah, of course. Why not? Hey, it happened. So I'll do it too. There we go. That's fine. That's so the
1,000 people.
So
You
1,000
look up.
people, and honestly, when I see it in my mind, it was literally a wall of faces. There was no I got married in this church too. So looking at that church as an adult, it wasn't that big, but in my mind, it was a wall of faces straight up to the ceiling. So it was
That's a
terrifying.
lot of people. Come on, 1,000 people is a lot of people.
1,000 people is a lot of people, and that is a very just it's intense. It's an intense feeling. The thing though I didn't know then that I know now is that all of those people would have been just as terrified if they were me.
Of course.
Looking back at them.
That's important to know.
Yeah.
And by the way, most of those 1,000 people wouldn't do it because they'd be too afraid to get up there.
That and they're too old to be altar boys,
Well, there's that
altar
too.
servers. No.
Yeah, or they're too old to actually walk up there. I mean, that would
Right, right.
really
There's a lot
getting
of steps. There was a lot of steps there in that church.
right.
But
I mean,
that's,
if it was
yeah,
by us in South Florida, the one thing about where you and I live, what's the most dangerous place you can possibly be
where we live, the most dangerous place you can be.
in a car? If you're in a car, what's the most dangerous place you could be in a car?
Oh gosh, the trunk,
Da-da-da. Well, if you're in a trunk, then
the
it was dangerous
passengers
before that
side,
because somebody put you there.
right? The
That
passengers
would be
side?
if you were. That would be if you were up in Newark, New, or if you were in New Jersey, where I came from.
Right,
If you were in
right.
a trunk, that would be the most dangerous place to be in a car where we live is in a parking lot at any store because all you hear is
Yes.
backup beepers,
Yep.
horns, and you see 4 cars any given time backing up into each other fast.
Right, right.
Yeah, welcome to. It's well, we don't want to. We don't want to pick on the elderly,
No, 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 no.
but we live in an area where it's really concentrated.
It's true. It's true.
Listen. So assuming that they could walk up there, many of those people wouldn't, and it's just out of
Right.
that fear of being everything we're saying. So, just recap what number 2 was, and then I want you to give me number 3.
The audience is rooting for you.
Audience is rooting for you.
And the next one I would say is you have a job to do. That's a really good mindset, I think. When I get up on stage, my job is not to, my job is to entertain the audience. I mean, as a performer, I'm not going to say it's not my job, but my main job is to go through the process of improv. That's my job. Like that's what I'm there to do. I'm there to execute the craft and go through the process. Now, if I've been training and I'm being truthful about the process, then that process is going to be entertaining to an audience to watch. I put more time and effort into it than most people, so they're going to see something they don't normally see. And so that going through that and doing my job is important. If you get up to it's my focus, I should say.
Okay.
Rather than thinking about all of there's an exercise that you can do that makes you look comfortable when you're in front of an audience. It's an acting exercise I did when I first started improv and acting, which is stare out at the audience. Terrifying. Count the heads in the audience. Look at everyone and start to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? Do that, and you're not as nervous anymore because you've given yourself something to do.
You change what you're focusing on.
Yeah. Well, you're focusing on no longer the internal monologue of what about this, what about that? Oh my God, all these people are staring at me. What are they thinking? You got something to do. You're up there to give a speech. Start speeching. Like get started. Don't dwell on it. Don't worry about it. The audience is there, but they're there, and your job is to what? Smile and make them feel comfortable. Make them realize this is the place to be. You're cool up there. You're cool and confident. You're excited to see those people. And that's the other thing. Your job is also, your job is to present this information. Well, why are you presenting this information? Maybe you're a salesperson. So this is your livelihood. You're going to put food on the table through giving this speech. Give the speech. It's your job. I'm a performer. My job, I love to entertain people. I love these people. I want to give them something special. So I'm no longer necessarily nervous about that because I genuinely coming from a place of love and saying I love these people. Actually, I'm going to share I don't want to switch things up on you.
That's a great point, though. That's a great point. Coming from a place of love, you're shifting your feelings. So when you're in a response that's like, let's say it's a fight or flight. Let's say you're really nervous.
Yeah.
And your body's having that reaction, releasing cortisol. Like you're doing all the things that you do when you're worried, but when you're excited, your body does the same thing with the same chemicals, if I'm not mistaken, from what I've learned. So if you change your mindset to excitement, the feeling is associated with excitement rather than fear.
Yeah.
Right? That's like another way to look at it. So how do you get excited for whatever's about to happen? you just shift what you're thinking, which I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, shift, reframe it and say, well, why am I doing this? What is, what's the purpose? What is the outcome? Why am I getting on stage and giving this talk or doing this performance? And I wanted to say something else about that too, about what you were saying. So yeah, by coming at it from a positive space. So if you're nervous, right, you have all of these, whatever it might be, you start sweating, you're nervous, and your body posture is going to go into subconsciously. Your body posture and the physical signals you send are going to be signals of nervousness.
Right. People feel it.
And people pick up on that, whether they know it or not. Everybody can read
Right.
body language. We're
Right.
designed. But if you can relax a little bit more and you can come at it from a different angle, your body's going to do different body movements, different language is going to come off.
Right.
And the audience will feel that. A lot of what we do, as long as we can change, especially with acting, if we can change our mood, we can change our physicality, we can change the way that we
Yeah.
speak. The mood and our emotions really drive everything that we do. So if you can find a way to tap into the love of it, and I have a tip for that. My next tip is about how to tap into the love.
You just made me think of something before you move on.
Sure.
I just was up in Jersey visiting some people, and I went to the chiropractor that I used to go to up there. And on the wall, I might get this wrong, but on the wall in his office, he's got a picture hanging on the wall, and there's 4 words. And I believe it goes, beliefs is on top. So you have your beliefs. Your beliefs create your thoughts. And what came on again? Hold on. I can't move when I'm doing the show. It goes beliefs. Your beliefs create your thoughts, and your thoughts create your emotions, your feelings, and that leads to your actions.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting. And when I first saw that, I was like, oh wow. So if you don't like the outcome of something, it starts with changing your belief, right?
You have a better
that's the hack,
chiropractor.
that's the shortcut.
You have a better
Change your
chiropractor than me.
belief. Huh?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say you have a better chiropractor than me. Mine said snap necks, cash checks. But you're stupid. I'm like talking over you just to make this dumb joke. I apologize. But no, it's exactly right. You're 100% right. Like you can't control, and you don't want to. You can't control every single physical bit. Just like with improvising and acting, have the emotion and then you do the action, and then how you do the action. It's why they call action in movies. When the director goes action, he's telling you to do the action, but he's not telling you how, or she's not telling you how to do the action.
Right.
It's the same thing in every everyday part of our lives. Our emotions dictate our dialogue, our actions. I mean, so find a way to tap into the love and not the fear, and you're going to get a different outcome, I think.
Yeah. There's no question. That's brilliant. It really is. All right. I don't know if I could take anymore. All right. Give me number 4. This is good stuff.
So a tip that I read about that I think is fantastic. There's a story about a magician. That's a fantastic way of getting over that fear of speaking to an audience. There was a magician who would peek through the curtain and look at each individual person in the audience. I have done this, and I swear by it. I think it's great. Whenever I'm really nervous, just really excited and amped up, and it's a new audience, or I'm in a theater I don't know, or something like that, and I get a chance to do this, I will look out. So what he would do is he would look at everyone in the audience and he would say, "I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you," and look at every single person in the audience and say, "I love you" to each and every one of them secretly. So when he goes out on stage, he's already looked at each one of those people and said, "I love you." And that's a really helpful tip.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what's it doing?
So I'm building a rapport, one-sided. Obviously the audience hasn't met me, but I get to meet them, and I get to talk to them and say something positive to them before I ever go out on stage. And now I have somewhat of a relationship with them, and I've opened up the door, in that way, by saying I love you. Also by literally saying the words I love you, I'm putting myself
Feel it.
in the mindset. I'm not letting this talk.
Yeah.
I'm talking, and I'm carrying that, and I'm sharing that love with them. And if I'm sending love out, right, by the time I step out on stage, I'm still sending that love out through my body, through my tone of voice, my micro expressions, whatever it might be. That stuff's, I think, all working. And by saying I love you in the beginning, I come out, I'm calmer, and I feel like I'm coming from a place of love.
It also ties back into the meditation you were talking about. You can, one of the things I listen to when I feel like I want to reset that heart, it's called like the heart set. I get
Mm-hmm.
that word from Robin Sharma from a book I read, the 5 a.m. Club. He calls it heart set. And if you want to have the right feelings in your heart, which do give off a vibe to people, you can control that, and it comes oftentimes from being alone, and just even if it's 10 minutes, just kind of either thinking, or for me, I'll do a guided meditation just to kind of reset. And there's one I listen to. It's called loving. I think it's loving the world or something like that.
Mm.
And but it's 10 minutes, and it's just a reminder of like how to get back into that mindset. And it begins by talking about, think about the people that you love the most. Think about how it feels to be around them. Think about your kids. And as you're thinking about it, now feel that feeling when they're, and you can feel it, and it sets a tone. And
Absolutely.
for me,
Yeah.
it could stick the entire day. That's why I like to meditate every day. You feel great. So if what you're saying is do it before you go on stage, you can, and there's a little trick. It's a little pre-stage hack. Look
Yeah.
out and tell everybody you love them, one at a time. And if it's 1,000 people, they'll just have to wait for you to get ready.
I mean, you do it with as many people as you can. And if you're in front of 1,000 people, then you're doing something right.
Just pick the front row.
I'll be honest. I'm a performer. I perform a lot. I'm usually done pretty quickly. You can get through about 50 people, 100 people pretty fast.
Yeah.
But just taking a moment. It doesn't take a lot, but just taking a moment to look at each person and just bang it out and just let them know. I've said I love you to every single one of these people in the audience. I'm ready to go.
Okay. I love it. All right, hit me with. So you gave a bonus one up front, so I lost count. Are we on
Okay.
number 4?
I don't know where we are now. I think we're at number 5.
Give me more. I can't get enough of this. I need
But
more.
you actually mentioned something by thinking about a friend or a family member.
Yeah.
So a really great tip if you're recording something, especially if you're doing a podcast, I always recommend to people that they have a picture of someone they care about. If it's your wife or a sister or brother or mom or dad, or anyone that you really care about, you have a really good connection with. You take that picture and you put it up either by the camera, or you put it by the microphone or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're giving a speech to a group of people, you can keep a little picture of that person with you with your notes, and just imagine that you're talking just to that person. Don't try to address
Awesome.
everybody. Address that. Yeah. Talk to your as if you're talking to your best friend, or you're talking to your wife or your mom or whatever it might be. But someone you feel that you speak well with, that you have a great relationship with, and talk to them. You're going to, again, all that automatic stuff, your tone, your posture, you're looking at their face. It's reminding you of them, and you're filling your brain with, happy memories and happy thoughts. That's a really great way to get the tone that you want, and that happy tone. Yeah, great for podcasts.
That's awesome.
Can't carry the picture with you on stage if you're improvising. I'm sorry, or acting. But in improv, I tell people, if you're in a scene and your scene is going in a positive direction, and you want to continue that, you can name your scene partner. I think all improv scenes, or many improv scenes, should be positive. You don't have to be negative to be funny. You can be positive to be funny. But name that person the name of your best friend. Name them someone that you like. When you start a scene, you have to name your scene partners. No one has names, and we don't know anything about anybody. We have to share that information. So if I'm doing a scene with someone, and I go, I go, you know what? I'm going to name them Matt, because I have a good relationship with Matt, and I want to name them Matt. So now the way that I talk to them the way I talk to you, and so everything comes out that way, right?
That's really interesting.
If the character is someone who's evil and someone I don't like, I'm going to name them somebody that I can't stand, or somebody that I hate, so that I can deliver it with the same level, and I can use that name. And then when we say the name of the person, and then I'm getting a little on a tangent about improv, but names are so important in improv, just like they're important in the real world, because you can caress someone with their name, you could stab someone with their name. There's so much you can do with a name, and it makes it very powerful.
That's true. I think, am I hearing you talk about visualization? Also, like when you're saying to have a picture, like these are techniques where you're outsmarting your mind's normal programming. So they're hacks to change the way you're thinking, so that so that you feel different, so that you can deliver what you want to deliver. So it sounds like part of what you're saying is visualization, which makes me think of athletes. They
Hmm.
visualize a shot before they take it, and especially Tiger Woods is like, is really known for that, like visualizing exactly what's going to happen and then doing it, and it works. That does work.
Our imaginations are are less fleeting thoughts with no power and more like windows into the future. And there's nothing that we can't create if we don't, we think about it first, then we create it. Like, when has that not worked for humanity?
Very true.
We
It's very
literally
true.
think it and then we make it. And that happens a lot of the time. There's been very few times in my life where I have given up or been like, oh man, what I had in mind isn't working. But those happen, of course. Obviously, there's only finite
Yeah.
amounts of things. Things happen, but for the most part, we can create as a society. As a race of humans, we're creating things, and that's we think them and we create them. So that's a real power. And
There's no
yeah,
question it is. There's no
yeah,
question, and it could be anything. Really, I mean, if you have a business and you're going, you have we'll be going into 2022. If you have a vision for what you want your business to be next year, you have to visualize it. You have to sit down and think about what you want things to look like a year from now, and you don't have control over it, but you have influence. So you would take steps, you would take actions to put yourself in a position where the things that you're visualizing actually happen. And
yeah.
it is very, very powerful.
Do you know one thing? Too is I can't say I don't know if it's a fact or not, but I believe this to be true. That the mind cannot distinguish between reality and imagination. The brain itself doesn't know the difference. And I've done this with my students. I've asked them to go on a visual, kind of like a little visualization. Imagine yourself as a 5-year-old child. You can't see over the counter in the kitchen. All the lights are off in the house. It's like, dusk. It's getting late. And all of a sudden, there's the basement door creaks open and a weird sound is heard coming from the basement. Are you going to go down in the basement? Everyone says no. And I go, why not?
Of
It's
course
not
not.
real. It's not
Right.
real. Your brain doesn't know that. And so when you
Right.
go and do improv, you're using your imagination. I can't tell you how many students are. I do an exercise called Death in a Minute. I go, okay, you're going to do a scene. Somebody has to die within a minute. You have 60 seconds. Someone has to die. They don't want to do it. They're afraid to die on stage. I'm like, but it's not real. They're afraid to. I'll ask another student
How do you
too.
do that though? Tell me what one of those scenes looks like. Like how do you even start a scene? You just got me really interested in, like, in 1 minute, what do they say? What do they say?
How do you start an improv scene?
Like, there's two people, they have 1 minute just to do a scene that you're making up from nothing. You just go bang bang, and a guy falls down and he's dead. Like, what is it?
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, you can establish in the beginning that it's to start an improv scene. If you want to just know that the basics for starting an improv scene, by me anyway. First of all, think of improv like a guitar. You can play it like an acoustic. You can play it like heavy metal. It could be electric. It could be wood. It could be slow. It could be fast. There's a million different ways to do improvisation. But a good basis for improv, by my standards, but what I think is good, is action, emotion, and names. So if you're starting from scratch, you give yourself an action, and that action could be anything. It could be reading a book, turning a knob, fiddling with your earbud. Obviously nothing real. And you start with that. Then you give yourself an emotion. Do I love it or hate it? Start there. Let's say I'm sweeping the floor. Give myself this action. Then I say, do I love this or hate this? I love it. I like to go with love because I think scenes that are positive are more fun. So I like to go with love. So I go like this, all right? Smiling, feeling it. Influences the way that I sweep the floor. And
Right,
then
right, right.
I have a scene partner. The first thing I want, now that I've set up who I am and what I'm about, I'm a guy who loves sweeping the floor. That's all we know right now. Now that I know that, right, I've put my mask on. I'm going to help my partner put their mask on. Now that I can breathe and I have like a little idea of where I'm at, I'm going to turn to my scene partner and I'm going to give them a name, right? And I'm going to say, Kyle, I love sweeping floors. And so now I've given myself a point of view. I've gifted my scene partner their name. And if they're doing their job, they've done some type of object work, some sort of action, given themselves some sort of emotion. And then you're off. And then we
It's
discover
really
what we're
interesting.
doing from there. It's not about inventing. I don't know what the scene is going to be about, but I'm discovering it as I go. And that's the difference. A lot of people try to write the script and then do
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
some people are very good at that. I had a student who's very good at that. He had a whole 5-minute scene. He scripted it out and he dragged his scene partner through it. I was like, "Hey, listen, you're super smart. I need you to stop script writing. I need you to just discover." And that's what we're doing. We're discovering where our minds go in that moment. You had to get up and give a speech. Get up, start, find your emotion, what emotion you have about this person. If you're talking about a person, for example, you have to give a speech about a toast. Let's say it's a toast, right? Hey, Matt, get up, do a toast. Oh man, okay. Well, first let me get an emotion. I have my action. I'm holding a drink. My emotion is,
I would go to the first thing I would do is I would go to grateful. I'm so grateful to be here. It's really like an honor to have all of you in the room, and just go from there.
and
Depending
then
on
you
what it is.
discover, you discover what you want to talk, what you feel.
I want to thank you all for being so generous with the gifts. Keep them coming, or whatever.
But you keep that love point of view, and you
Yeah.
don't end up in the pitfalls that some toasts can end up in, or whatever speeches can end up in, because our egos, we're constantly
it's
fighting
like-
that. Yeah.
Or it's like, okay, raise your, well, I don't really have much to say. I really don't like most of you guys.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too is remember that the jokes will come. The laughter is a byproduct of the process. It's not. We're not trying to be funny. And anyone who tries to be funny has learned nothing happens when you try to be funny. It's like a deer in the woods. She's got to come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like me saying to you right now, okay, sing me a song. You're a singer.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
I get not. I mean, like I can sing a song on the spot. In fact, I do that all the time. If people give, like if you give me a word, I can make up a song right now. We do it all the time. Do you want to do that?
No.
Okay. I'm down. I'm down for it.
It's too planned. It's got to be a surprise.
All right.
All right. I think you have one more. Is there one more tip, or do we hit all five?
I think we hit all five. Saying I love you to the audience. I'll say that you're enough. Just to recap, you're enough just the way that you are. The audience is rooting for you. They want you to succeed. Lean into that. Know that they want to see you succeed. They don't want to see you fail. You have a job to do. So get up there, deliver that speech or deliver that presentation. The other one I would say, I'll throw another one in there, is be too loud. No matter what you're doing, if you're getting up in front of a group of people, the one thing people do not know is the biggest note I give to all my students, anyone I coach: be too loud. I want you to have somebody in the room, and I want you to talk to them as loudly as you feel you can. And I want you to ask them on a scale of 1 to 10 what you thought they were at, right? Or what they thought you were at. So if I talk at what I think is a 10, talk at what you think is a 10, speak at what you think is a 10, then ask them what number they thought it was. Chances are they're going to say it's a 6 or a 7.
Uh-huh.
Every time. What you think is
Okay.
too loud is comfortable. You need to go above what you think is too loud. And if somebody, and I always tell people, I say, I'll tell you when you're being too loud. I've never given that.
Try
note.
that because my wife frequently tells me that I'm too loud. But
That's
clearly-
different, Matt. That's different.
Clearly, I need to be louder.
Maybe not that audience. Maybe not with that audience. But yeah, people just aren't loud enough. They really, you need to project. And the last thing you want to hear when you're doing a speech or anything is louder. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
Apply. Is there anything different that you would say or anything you would add? Because it's all been about getting up in front of people, and which is really important. I mean, it's to me the number one skill set that you can have is actually sales. But sales requires you to be in front of people, whether it's one-on-one or one-on-5 or giving a speech or something. You're always selling to people, right? You're selling because we want people to be in alignment with our thinking. You want to persuade people of things. So one way or the other, my 10-year-old daughter, if she wants something, she's trying to persuade me, she's selling me on something. We're always doing it. It's not a bad word. It's just that's what we do, right?
Sure. Everything is
So-
sales.
All the advice you just gave is great for somebody who's in sales. It's great for somebody who's not in sales, but who's in any position that whatever they do at work, with entrepreneur or working for somebody else. Everything you just said really comes into, they could be going in to ask for a raise, right? All these mindset hacks are really valuable. Or they could be going on stage in front of 1,000 people. But what if I'm getting in front? So a lot of people want to start a YouTube channel, or they want to get on YouTube. They want to put a video out, but it's the same apprehension. There's nobody. I'm sitting there by myself, and I got to talk into a little light on the computer. Still won't do it. What do you say to them?
Follow the fear. Follow the fear. We are, that fear means you're about to do something you're not comfortable with, you haven't done before. Dive into it because you're enough. Go try it. Do it. You'll be surprised just how easy a lot of this stuff is. I have my own fears too. I feel them every day. I have a fear of going to the gym. It's a very scary gym. It's filled with like serious. Yeah, I go to like a power lifter gym, and it is intimidating. Just between you and me. Don't share this with anybody else.
Parking lot.
Don't share. No. But I'm just saying, it's that you feel it. It's a little bit of apprehension.
Yeah.
You know, and
wow, that's interesting. I just learned something else about you.
Sure, I've got plenty of psychosis issue, but no, but like, you know,
you and I could share those all day long, but back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that we're afraid to do. I'm trying to think of the last thing I did. Well, I opened a theater. That was terrifying. When I opened my theater, I was nervous. I was afraid. I tried to do an Instagram post, and I remembered walking through the theater. Like I wanted to deliver it like, "Hey everybody, we got our new theater. I'm so excited. It's gonna be great." But it came off like, "We have a new theater. I'm really excited." Because I'm terrified. I was terrified in that moment. You know, but oh man, I wouldn't.
How many times did you record that?
I did the one take.
You did the one take?
I did the one. I don't even know if I posted it. I think I remember watching it, but I don't remember if I posted it. But like, you know, I wouldn't give back those days for anything. And they were hard days. It was tough running a theater. I did it for 2 years, and I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I took that leap, because if you're not feeling that fear, you're not moving in any sort of direction that's new. Every new thing is going to be that.
That's your indicator that you're. I said at the beginning of this show that you're an expert at being uncomfortable, and that's at the gym apparently too. I did not know that. So, but kidding aside, that fear is your barometer. Like you know that the other side of that, when you push past it, is growth. Some people call it post-traumatic growth. You have a tough time, you push through something difficult, you come out the other side stronger. You do that enough times, you've changed who you are, and you keep changing, you keep evolving, and that's how you get through these things. So maybe that's the answer to looking into the camera when there's nobody there but you, and putting a video out and sharing your point of view, because somebody out there is probably interested. Because as you said, we're all unique. We all have a point of view. We all have experiences and a perspective. And shamelessly, to tie it into this show, it's the whole point of doing this. We're going to reach some people who connect with us, and that's why I do the show. So you're hoping to motivate and inspire people. That's why you teach, and it's all connected. But that fear is key. That fear, you need to have that feeling, but you can't have it be a fear that's negative. What I mean by that is where it paralyzes you. It's okay to be afraid. You push through it, you learn, and you evolve.
Right. And you're sharing a lot of yourself. And it's very scary to share and to put yourself out there and to fall flat, which happens. I'm not standing here. I'm not standing on a mountain of amazing shows. I'm standing on a mountain of not so great shows. You know, sometimes I've had bad shows. These things happen, but I'm better for it. And, you know, I might be a little nervous to go to the gym. I might have some fear about doing that. I might have some fear about getting on stage, especially after the pandemic. I was rusty, and it was scary to get up there, especially to do my solo show. That messes with your mind. And so you got to get back up there. You got to put yourself out there, and that fear, you're right, is the barometer. Now, if there's somebody standing at the entrance to the gym with a bat, and they're like, "You come in here and I'm going to attack you," that fear, that's a different fear. You don't want to lean into that fear. But we're talking about putting yourself out there kind of fear. Let that guide you and lean into it, because you're right. On the other side of that fear is a room that all those other people didn't enter. That's a whole other phase. And I think about that all the time. I go, I'm terrified of this. I wonder how many other people were terrified of this. I wonder how many other people backed off of what I'm about to walk through. And that's something that we should all look at and say, on the other side of fear, like you said, is something new, something different, and
Growth.
it's growth. And it could be the most. When I was terrified to be an actor. I wouldn't even say it. I wouldn't whisper it to myself in private that I wanted to be an actor. I thought I had no right being an actor. Like, no one said that to me.
Yeah, so that goes back to the belief.
Yeah.
Like, where does that belief come from? And that belief created your thoughts, and all of a sudden you're feeling all these different things. It's a false belief.
Yeah. No one said
it came from, but you can change it.
Yeah. No one said it. Why am I hearing it?
Yeah.
No one said it.
It's interesting. Ooh, boy, that was a lot of stuff.
Sorry. This is great. I really feel like you got me all jazzed up now. I love talking about this stuff.
God.
It's only been 2 hours.
Time flies. Is it true when you go out on a stage that's you can't really see the audience actually because I guess because of the lights? I've never
Depends. No, you can still see the audience. It depends on the stage. Depends if you're on a professional, well lit stage. Chances are you don't really see them very well, but I've always been able to see the audience roughly. You want to see them, Yeah. You don't really see if you're. It depends on what you're doing, but look out.
You're thinking like you're not focusing on the audience once you start, right?
Yeah, I mean, with me, I'm looking at my scene partners or whatever. But it still gets me. I actually have a note for myself. I really want to try and connect with audience members more as I'm a performer, like as I'm performing, and play. We play out into the audience sometimes, and I want to do more of that. But yeah,
this is cool, man. This is cool. So, there's a couple of things we got to do here. One, I want you to think about, and I'd like you to share. If anybody there's a couple of things people can reach you for. So one is you teach improv, right? But there's also the other side of it. If somebody wanted to reach out to you because they're experiencing any of the things that we talked about, and have you as a coach, I'm sure it's something you'd be into, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to put down below when this gets put out. We're going to put down below the description how people can reach you. So what would you want people to reach you for? Give me an example of what you would help people with.
I love going out to businesses, groups, and bringing what I call, it's improvisation, but it's not improv for actors, but it's improv for everybody else. And for teams, I can help businesses and small groups, large groups, nonprofits to work better together. It's a great way to, just work on agreement and support. If you've got a bunch of different salespeople that never talk to the programmers, a bunch of programmers, or a bunch of people at the front of house that don't talk to the back of house, or whatever it might be. You want to bring all these people together and get to know each other better. I do that, and that's something that I'm very passionate about. Is bringing that to businesses. If you want to be a better public speaker, I coach people one-on-one and help them be better public speakers. I work on them with that, getting their story, talking to them about their life, and just learning how to just do all the things that you would do to polish up that stage presence and that the craft of speaking to a group of people.
Beautiful. And we're going to put your information below, your email address, your social media. We're going to put everything down below.
All right.
Listen, I think probably out of many of the episodes that I've done so far, this might be one of the ones. I think it's one of the ones that has the most clear, direct value to people out there, because we hit on something that I think everybody, unless they were BSing us, has at some point experienced, and it's the fear of speaking publicly, everything we just talked about. So thank you, because I think that's really, really helpful. And the advice you just gave, we've all heard all kinds of advice, but those were kind of cool twists on the hacks, the mind hacks. So I hope everybody got value out of this.
Me too.
I really do. And I know that this is intended to inspire people, right? And to motivate people and to help them reach their potential. And so that's what we set out to do at the beginning of the show. And I think we did a great job of it. I think you did a great job.
You did a great job.
Well, thank you.
You're a great host.
No, you did a great job.
No, fine.
With the broom sweeping.
Right.
I love sweeping.
I love sweeping this house. Sweeping this house is great, man. Having a great time. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Listen, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon.
You got it. Thanks so much.